Hello, welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended. It's that time where we showcase the top 10 best creatures to tame on the new Aberration map. I'd like to point out that even though the Cosmo Spider would no doubt be in the top 3, it is part of the paid DLC pack, so I will not be including it in the video. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Kicking off our list at number 10 is going to be the Titanoboa's cousin, the Basilisk. These giant serpents can be found rarely spawning all over the map minus the surface regions, tamed via a unique method of dropping fertilized rock drake eggs on the ground for it to gobble up. These can be subbed out for fertilized wyvern eggs or magmasaur eggs if transferred, and for when Genesis Part 1 releases, as of course the magmasaur isn't in the game just yet. Once tamed and saddled up at the high level of level 85, you will have a formidable battle mount, with a torpor inflicting bite, which deals 3 times the torpor of its melee damage. A ranged poison spit attack similar to that of a poison wyvern, both being effective against even the strongest of opponents, boasting very high health and weight stats, with a whopping 75% weight reduction for stone, and having a pretty decent base movement speed, allows it to quickly cover long distances with ease. Not to mention it does not possess an oxygen stat. It also has the ability to bury underground, which strangely can also be ridden in this state. However, your survivor will lose oxygen over time. You will not lose oxygen if wearing a scuba tank. Another thing to mention is that although wild basilisks are visible underground, tame ones are not to other players, allowing it to potentially ambush any unfortunate threats that wander too close. And finally, with the release of Aberration, we now finally have the option to breed these beasts. There's nothing scarier than an imprinted basilisk. In at number 9 is the aberrant Gigantoraptor, a surprising new addition to Aberration that I can safely say none of us expected, but it is a pleasant one. Found guarding their nest and precious offspring throughout the fertile region, aka the green zone, you can only tame one by claiming their babies. The adults cannot be tamed, where you will need to don some ghillie armor equipped with a stash of fertilized eggs. The larger the fertilized eggs, the longer you can distract the parent. Throw the fertilized egg on the floor, which will bait the parent away from the nest, at which point you can approach the nest, which will give you the option to sit inside, initiating a mini game where you will have to mimic its movements to gain taming effectiveness. Rinse and repeat until it is tamed. Saddle up at level 69 and equipped with an array of abilities. The baby call option, which once used will scan any nearby wild babies, showing you a waypoint. Any baby claimed by the Gigantoraptor will gain bonus levels. One thing to note is that the baby you are wanting to claim has to be of the same or lower level than the Gigantoraptor you are riding. It will act as a feeding trough to any babies in the saddle using food from its inventory. The player does have to be riding the Gigantoraptor for this to work, but you'll also be able to care for the baby, feeding any food from your last hotbar slot. And it does have the awesome ability of being able to re-roll the cares on babies, which can be done one time for each imprinting cycle, which is performed by using its baby call option. Very useful if you do not own the item the baby is craving. Moving on to the bonding mechanic, where the Gigantoraptor loves to show their young how to hunt. When riding a Gigantoraptor that you have imprinted with babies in the saddle, the babies will want to go hunting. An icon will be visible at the bottom of the screen with a counter, and enemies will be marked for you. Once hunting that enemy, it will increase the kill counter. Rinse and repeat until you reach the required amount of hunts. The baby will fully be bonded with the Gigantoraptor parent. Basically, the parent and any babies fully bonded with it will receive damage stacking and damage resistance buffs, along with a small experience buff whenever in range of the parent. When accessing its radial menu, you will see the option to pluck its feathers, which does have a cooldown. When inspecting the feathers in your inventory, you'll see a stat and a percentage. You can place these feathers into tame creatures that you are breeding. After mating these creatures, the feather will be consumed by them and will give the baby a higher chance of taking those stats. As of now, you can place feathers inside the male's inventory, whereas before you could only place them in the female. Not only is it useful in raising babies, but it can also incubate eggs for you. This can be done by putting a fertilized egg inside its inventory and attaching the egg to the saddle slot of your choice. The Gigantoraptor itself is also a pretty handy battle mount. Its bite attack deals minimal damage, however it does also have a kick attack that packs more of a punch. A very quick sprinter that can jump and perform mini glides, acting like a parachute, which can help traversing the difficult terrain of Aberration. All these reasons are why you need to tame the Gigantoraptor. Taking the number 8 spot is the Aberrant Spino. In a map full of unique creatures without the Tyrannosaurus reigning supreme, the Spinosaurus snatches a spot on the list. Found everywhere around the rivers and lakes in the fertile region, or in a few spots in the red zone if you dare. Unlike other maps, you should have absolutely no trouble at all in finding one to tame. A standard knockout tame, preferring raw prime fish meat or exceptional kibble. Once tamed and saddled up at a level 71, the Spino offers comfort in exploring almost anywhere on the entire map. With its decent health stat, high damage in 2 stances, the go-to battle stance bipedal where it can pivot 360 degrees, unleashing its deadly claws upon any threats that get too close, dealing slightly more damage. In quadrupedal mode, the Spino becomes an extremely fast sprinter, having a faster attack speed with its bite attack. Luckily for the Spino, Aberration is full of water, so it will receive its hydrated buff when it touches or submerges itself in water, giving it a 15% extra melee damage, 20% movement speed, and 25% health regeneration, which is constant until leaving the water. Being immune to radiation damage makes the Spino a viable option in dipping your feet into the red hazard zone, more than capable of taking care of itself and you even when met with the deadliest of foes. In at number 7 is the Carcanos, found along most rivers within the fertile region and also in the bioluminescent biome. They do also spawn in some of the element regions, but you'd surely be pretty mad to want to tame one down there. They aren't knocked out via typical methods, with the best way being to trap them and pound them in the body with a catapult turret, preferring either spoiled meat or exceptional kibble. Saddled up at level 65, it for me is the best companion for hoarding heavy resources, able to pick up a wide variety of small to medium creatures with its giant pincers, picking up one creature in its left pincer and one in the right simultaneously, which combined with the Anki or the Doedicurus will make for the perfect farming team. Boasting a high weight stat, health stat, and also lacking an oxygen stat, while being immune to radiation and possessing an awesome charge jump, allowing it to clear great distances and verticality, with the pincers being used as its weapon of choice and being able to deal a decent amount of damage at that. And if you do find yourself biting off more than you can chew, the rider can also wield their weapons when mounted. When encountered in the wild, they can also be killed and chopped up for a wealth of organic polymer. Also, our prayers have finally been met, where we can actually breed Carcanos, which is a change I've wanted for so many years. In at number 6 is going to be the Ravager, a fantastic beast for many reasons, found everywhere in the fertile region and also in the bioluminescent biome. Commonly spawning in packs, you will have absolutely no problem in finding good levels to tame. A relatively easy knockout tame that can be bowlered, preferring either raw mutton or cooked lamb chops. However, raw prime meat does work very well too. Saddled up at level 47, the Ravager is one of my personal favorites on the list. Being very versatile in its capabilities and excellent traveling mount, it is able to reach places most can't, with the ability to jump and walk across zip lines, with pack buffs at its disposal that will go up to +4 in a group of 5 or more Ravagers, making them very dangerous in groups. Not only is it a capable fighter, but it is also an exceptional pack mule, and for a creature of its size has a very high weight stat. With a 50% weight reduction for a wide variety of heavy resources, there is no feeling like the feeling of running around rampant with a group of Ravagers at your side. Taking the number 5 spot is going to be none other than the Aberrant Megalosaurus. Once a nocturnal predator that slept all day, which made it a bit of a pushover, now a formidable fighting force in Aberration where it becomes an apex predator, as it will never feel the need to go to sleep again. Found within the bioluminescent blue region and also the element red region, tamed via typical knockout methods. Its preferred kibble is superior kibble, preferred foods are raw mutton and raw prime meat. Saddled at level 57, once tamed it possesses a very strong bite attack, able to deal high damage, and also a secondary grab attack which can pick up smaller creatures in its jaws, either carrying it to a desired location or crunching down on its prey. Being immune to radiation makes it a viable mount for exploring the dangerous element red zone and the surface regions. There's not much deadlier than a group of mate boosted Megalosaurus. In at number 4 is the new Yi Ling, which is much smaller than I was expecting, found in specific locations in the fertile region and being highly aggressive. It does have a slightly frustrating taming method where you will be needing a good chunk of plant species Z fruit. Unless you have really good aim, then you might not need too many, but I usually bring 30 at the minimum. You will probably need healing brews, high quality armor or plenty of spare sets. It will fly around at the speed of sound, shooting feathers at you, and will perform a dive bomb attack where you will have to time it right with a flashbang to the nostril. Not literally, throwing it at your feet will work, which will immobilize it, and with biotoxin in your last hotbar slot, you'll have the prompt to feed it. Rinse and repeat until it is knocked out, which you can then feed it just like any other knockout tame, preferring exceptional kibble, raw mutton or raw prime meat. Saddled up at level 50, the Yeeling is an exceptional travel mount, which has the ability to jump, glide and dash through the air, able to gain a good amount of altitude with its dash. It can also latch onto walls but cannot climb, however you can use the dash in combination with the latch to travel upward. Equipped with 5 different range feather attacks that can be shot at targets from the air or while latched onto a surface. Upon impact, a bar is visible. Once filled, you can perform the rupture attack, which inflicts different effects depending on the type of feather you are using. The basic razor feathers just deals massive damage with the rupture. Force feeding it congealed gas spores gives access to volatile feathers, which seem to deal small amounts of fire damage. Force feeding nameless venom giving access to the poison feathers, which inflicts a poison health drain on the target and seems to deal a lot of damage. Force feeding sap for slime, which will just slow the target, doesn't seem to deal any further damage, and force feeding it biotoxin for sedate feathers, which not surprisingly can be used to put creatures to sleep and will inflict a substantial amount of torpor to the target upon impact. These feather abilities are pretty crazy, which is why you need to tame a Yeeling, or 10, or 20. High up on the list at number 3 is the light pets of Aberration. The Bulbdog, Featherlight, Shinehorn and Glowtail are necessities when playing Aberration. Take your pick, all are great. All are tamed passively, preferring plant species Z seeds from your final hotbar slot. But if you don't have access to those, each have their own preference of aberrant mushroom. Personally, I love the Bulbdog and the Featherlight, the Bulbdog being the most accessible for the majority of survivors, which will spawn everywhere in the fertile green region. They will be the most valuable companion to take with you whenever out exploring, especially in the deepest, darkest and most dangerous places in Aberration. They are shoulder pets, so putting anything inside their inventory will have 50% weight reduction once perched on your shoulder. All light pets are equipped with some useful passive abilities that can be enabled via their radial menu. They can detect nearby hostile players or will notify the player of nearby max level wild creatures. Icons will be visible at the bottom right of your screen when this occurs, but the most important reason to own a light pet is of course because of its portable charged light that can be used whenever you need it. It can either be turned on when accessing them via their radial menu or by using the clap emote, which is the most efficient method when out exploring. Charged light is probably the most important factor to think about when playing Aberration. It will deter nameless reapers and will get rid of their natural armor rating, allowing them to be taken care of more efficiently. They receive stat changes catering to their charged light, with stamina, oxygen and damage being replaced with charge capacity, charge regeneration and charge emission. The only downside is that their charge light when turned on will attract seekers, but it's almost certain that you'll never go out exploring without your light pet companion, which is why they are so high up on the list. In at number 2 is the Reaper, and it's no coincidence that these extraterrestrial beasts are named kings and queens. They kinda own the world of Aberration, but with great power comes a dangerous and difficult taming method. You will need to find a queen to be able to obtain one, so to speak. The Reaper queen can be found in the Element Molten region, aka the red zone. Ideally, you'll want to trap it to begin the taming process, but it can also be done without a trap if you're an absolute beast. You will have to use your light pet to remove its natural armor and begin damaging it until it reaches 2000 health or less. And if you're super ballsy, you can check the health with a magnifying glass, at which point you can turn your light pet off for it to perform this action. Typically in ASE, it wouldn't impregnate a survivor if it was affected by charge light, but in ARK Survival Ascended, it has impregnated me when I have got the charge light turned on. It will crouch and size you up with a unique animation and pick you up with its tail, proceeding to impregnate you. Once impregnated, you will be 1 HP, so it's a good idea to bring along some medical brews. At this point, a timer will be visible at the bottom right of your screen, where you will have to kill as many high XP giving creatures during the allotted time to gain as many bonus levels for your offspring. An important thing to mention is that if your player takes any inch of radiation damage when preggers, you will lose the baby, so always be wary of that. But on the plus point, if you do want to get rid of your baby, that is how you can do it. Once you've slaughtered enough creatures and got all your bonus levels, I only got 28 because I'm doing it for a video, but the max bonus levels you can get is 75. alive. It's now time to isolate yourself in a closed off room where your baby xenomorph will break out of your ribcage in a horrifying manner straight out of the Aliens films. The baby is aggressive and will attack you and your creatures and will run around frantically, which is why you have to keep it in a confined space. So you can either let it kill you while having a load of meat in your inventory, where it will take all the meat from your inventory, which will help you care for it during its infant stage, or you will need to consume the Reaper pheromone gland to be able to safely feed it. Keep it in a confined space until it reaches juvenile. At that point, it will act like a normal baby, where you can care for it via typical methods. Once raised to an adult, you will have a battle mount like no other, with a strong natural armor rating requiring no saddle to ride, an ability to bury into the ground which makes it almost invisible to enemy players, able to jump great distances, equipped with an array of strong attacks including a strong bite attack, a ranged tail attack able to slow targets, and a tail spin attack sending opponents into oblivion. There is no thrill ride like riding the Reaper King. And taking the #1 spot is none other than the Rock Drake, the undisputed champion when it comes to exploring Aberration. And even with the many DLC maps and new creatures that will be added later down the line, the Rock Drake will still remain to be one of the most popular creatures in the game, and for good reason. Just like the Reaper, they are not tamed via typical methods, but where you will have to steal a fertilized egg from their nesting grounds, which is undoubtedly one of the most adrenaline-fueled and difficult tasks you will experience on Aberration. The Rock Drake nests are located in the deepest parts of Aberration in the Element Molten region, and guarded by what feels like hundreds of Rock Drakes. Once obtained and back in the safety of your base, you will need a lot of air conditioners to incubate the egg, feeding it nameless venom as food to raise up, saddled up at level 75, with the option of unlocking the tech saddle for it later on. After defeating Rockwell on beta or alpha difficulty, you will most likely never travel the map on anything else ever again, able to cling and climb up vertical surfaces or to ceilings at any angle, glide and jump through the air like you just don't care, latching onto almost any surface as you please, and if you find yourself diving into the water below, it also has an exceptional swimming speed. Not only does it excel as a travel mount, it is also a very strong battle mount, with a high damage bite attack, a saddle that offers a passenger seat for a friend, with both the rider and passenger able to wield their weapons when mounted, and at the cost of draining its own stamina, has the ability to cloak itself, which renders it invisible to wildlife if not already aggressed upon, making the artifact of the Depths Cave an absolute walk in the park. Speaking of walks in the park, farming surface drops will now be one. You'll be able to get out and about, in and out in no time at all with the Rock Drake, and return home with all that tasty loot. It is also able to detect nearby Reapers with its passive ability, where its feathers will unfold and increase in size, alerting the rider to the dangerous presence nearby lurking in the shadows. All these reasons combined makes the Rock Drake a perfect asset in the boss fight arena. There's almost nothing the Rock Drake cannot do, which is why it is still the champion of Aberration. And that is going to be the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and maybe you even learned a thing or two. And if you did, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more ARK content. There's plenty more, and there's plenty more to come, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care, goodbye.